The cry in the alley the night on Varnix 4 was cold and silent. Wings blew through the metal streets of the mining colony, carrying dust and the sharp smell of oil. Most people were inside their warm bunkers, away from the danger and darkness of the outer sectors. But in a forgotten alley near the waste center, something moved. A tall, thin figure stepped weakly across the shadows. Her skin was soft blue, and her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Her arms were wrapped tightly around a small bundle, a baby, barely breathing. The mother, an alien named Sarai, was shaking. Her body was thin, her eyes sunken. She had not eaten in days. Her milk had dried up. Her baby, a newborn girl, had not fed for almost 2 days. The little one cried softly, but even the cries were growing weaker. Sarai collapsed beside a pile of broken crates. Her knees hit the metal floor. Hard, but she didn't feel the pain anymore. She unwrapped the cloth and looked at her baby. The child's skin was turning pale. She tried to let her feed again, but her chest had nothing left to give. She whispered something in her own language, a mother's last prayer. Then she closed her eyes, her arms still holding her baby close. Far away, a human man named Jack Carter walked down the alley. He wore an old coat, patched many times. Jack was an ex-soldier, now working as a small-time cargo pilot. He was coming back to his ship after buying cheap engine parts. His life was quiet now. He liked it that way. But that night, something stopped him. A sound. Faint. A baby crying? He paused, listening. The colony's alleys were not safe at night. But Jack couldn't ignore the sound. He stepped carefully, his boots clicking against the floor. The cry came again, softer now. He followed it. Then he saw her, a blue-skinned alien woman lying in the dirt. Her arms cradled a tiny baby. The woman looked half dead. The baby's eyes were open, but barely. Jack stepped closer, kneeling beside them. He checked for signs of life. "She's alive," he whispered. Barely, Jack looked around. No one was there, no cameras, no patrol drones. This area had been abandoned long ago. Still, helping aliens on Varnix 4 without a permit was illegal. If caught, he could lose his ship, maybe even go to prison. But Jack didn't move away. He took off his coat and gently wrapped it around the mother and baby. Then he picked them up. The woman was light, too light. The baby didn't even fuss. That scared him the most. Jack ran to his ship, a small rust-covered freighter named the Longshot. He opened the hatch and carried them inside. The lights blinked on as the door shut behind him. "AI medical scan, quick." He shouted. A soft voice answered. "Scanning. The adult female is malnourished, severe dehydration. The infant shows signs of starvation, life signs fading." Jack placed them both on a soft pad near the engine room, the warmest spot on the ship. He grabbed a water pack and gently tilted it to the woman's lips. She drank, barely. Jack's hands shook. He wasn't trained for this. But he had to try. "Do we have anything she can eat?" He asked the ship's standard rations for humans. Not compatible with Xanthari biology. What about the baby? No compatible nutrition packs available. Jack cursed it under his breath. "Can we replicate their milk?" Insufficient data. Scanning mother for biological markers. As the ship worked, Jack watched the baby. Her tiny hands barely moved. He reached out and touched her cheek. She was cold. The AI spoke again. "The mother's milk glands have shut down due to extreme starvation. The baby has less than 24 hours to live without proper nourishment." Jack stood up. He looked at them, a mother and her child, close. "To death, not on my watch," he said quietly. He opened a storage crate and pulled out a hidden bag, emergency credits, trade chips, and a stolen ID badge. He had saved it for a rainy day. This was that day. "I'll find something," Jack whispered, looking at the weak infant one more time. "I promise. Outside, the wind howled louder. But inside the ship, for the first time in a long while, Jack Carter had a mission again. A mission to save a baby he didn't even know. Asterisk. The next morning on Varnix 4 was even colder. The sky above the colony was dark with thick clouds, and acid snow had started to fall. Inside the Longshot, Jack Carter paced back and forth. His boots thudded on the metal floor. He kept checking the baby every few minutes. Her chest rose and fell in small, weak breaths. She was alive, but just barely. The alien mother, Sarai, was still unconscious. Her breathing had improved a little, thanks to the fluids Jack gave her. But her body was too weak to wake up. Her arm never moved. From around her child, Jack stood over them, confused and angry. "Ship," he said. "Options, give me anything." The ship's A replied, "There is one possible solution. A milk compound for Xanthari infants is sold on the black market in Sector 9, near the cargo docks." Jack frowned. "Sector 9 is outlaw territory." "Correct." The AI responded, "Entry is forbidden. Carrying aliens without a permit is also punishable by law." Jack ran a hand through his hair. He knew the rules. Humans and aliens had strict boundaries on this planet. Laws kept them apart. It was safer that way, they said. Fewer problems, but this wasn't a problem. This was a baby starving to death. Jack grabbed his coat and covered the sleeping alien child in a warm blanket. He set the temperature controls higher in that part of the ship and dimmed the lights. Sarai didn't stir. He turned to the ship. "Lock the door. If anyone tries to enter, security mode active." The AI confirmed. Jack exited the ship and made his way through the colony. He pulled his hood low and kept his eyes down. His boots crunched on frost-covered metal. Patrol bots hovered by scanning ID chips. Jack's heart pounded as one passed by him, but the fake ID on his wrist blinked green. Safe for now. Sector 9 was far from the clean, glowing towers of the central colony. Here, buildings leaned like they might fall, and the air was thick with smoke and rust. Jack walked past a group of miners warming their hands over a barrel fire. One of them looked at him with sharp eyes but said nothing. At the back of a narrow alley, he found a thick metal door with a red scanner. He knocked twice, paused, then knocked once more. A small camera blinked on. "What do you want?" A voice crackled. "I need infant milk, Xanthari kind." There was silence. Then, "That's rare. Expensive." "I can pay," Jack said. "Credits, trade chips." The door opened and a short, scaly alien with yellow eyes stepped out. "Follow me." Inside, the room was dim, full of crates and smell of chemicals. Jack was led to a back shelf where a small bottle sat, clear, glowing slightly with a purple tint. "That's the one." Jack asked. The alien nodded. 300 credits. Jack reached into his coat, pulled out a pouch and counted. "I have 220. "That's all of it. No deal." Jack's hand curled into a fist. "Please, the baby's dying." The trader looked at him closely. "You really care that much? About an alien child?" Jack didn't answer. His face said enough. The trader smiled. "Fine, but you'll owe me a favor. One small delivery." "That's fair, yes?" Jack didn't like it. Not at all. But he had no choice. "Fine. What's the delivery?" The alien handed him a black box with a blinking light. "Take this to Dock 17. Leave it behind the silver container. Don't look inside." Jack took the box with a sinking feeling. He had a bad sense about it, but he also had a baby to save. The milk in his hand and the box in his coat. He turned and walked out. The snow had thickened by the time he reached Dock 17. He moved fast, unseen, and dropped the box behind the marked container just as told. He didn't wait to see who picked it up. Back on his ship, Jack entered quickly and locked the hatch. The baby hadn't moved. Sarai still lay weak and silent. "Prep the formula." he told the ship. The AI mixed the Xanthari milk with sterile water, heating it to the exact temperature. Jack gently lifted the baby and held the tiny feeder to her lips for a few seconds. Nothing, then her mouth moved, a small suckling sound. She was drinking. Jack smiled, tears forming in his eyes. That's it. Good girl. The baby's breathing slowly improved. Her skin color began to return. Jack exhaled deeply for the first time in hours. He looked at Sarai. She was still unconscious, but her face seemed calmer now. I broke the law today, Jack whispered, brushing the baby's cheek. But I'd do it again. He didn't know it yet, but that one choice, that single act of kindness, would change his life forever. Jack Carter had seen war. He had fought in battles across frozen moons and burning deserts. He had faced laser fire, starvation, even betrayal. But none of that prepared him for the look of relief on a tiny alien baby's face as she slowly drank. The warm formula. It was quiet now inside the long shot. The baby had fallen asleep in a soft crate-turned crib, wrapped in blankets. Her small chest rose and fell peacefully. Beside her, Sarai still lay unconscious, though her breathing was stronger. Jack sat nearby, watching over both like a silent guard, but he couldn't relax. He had broken multiple laws. Harboring an undocumented alien, smuggling, entering black market territory, and worst of all, taking a favor from a known criminal. That little black box he had delivered could have been drugs. Or worse, a weapon. Jack didn't want to know. The milk would last maybe a day or two. That wasn't enough. The baby needed more, and Sarai needed real food, medicine, and time to heal. He couldn't stay here, not on Varnix 4. Patrol bots were already tightening scans in the sector. It wouldn't take long before someone noticed. The long shot had changed heat signatures and internal temperature logs. He needed a plan. Ship, he said quietly. Scan for any outgoing traders. Headed to neutral space. The AI responded. One outgoing vessel is scheduled to leave from Dock 22 within 6 hours. Destination, Pelion 3. No ID logs required. Jack nodded. Pelion 3 was a wild frontier planet, lawless but free. If he could get there, they'd be safe, but he'd need more milk first. He checked the black market contact list the alien trader had given him. One name blinked red, Xeruk the Mole, a code name. Everyone knew Xeruk. He wasn't a person, he was a deal maker. If something rare existed, Xeruk could get it. For a price. Jack tapped the screen. A message auto-loaded. If you're calling this line, you want something hard to get. Meet me in the tunnel under Waste Shaft 4 in 1 hour. Bring something shiny. Jack looked around. He didn't have credits anymore, but he had one thing: his old military dog tags. They were lined with a small strip of real silver, rare and valuable in many alien cultures. He hesitated. They were his last memory of Earth. He sighed. Let's hope this mole likes shiny. Jack reached the tunnel early. It stank of rust and wet ash. Pipes leaked steam. Graffiti covered the walls in different alien languages. He stood under a blinking yellow light, holding the tags tightly. A small figure dropped from a hatch in the ceiling. Not human. Not even close. It was short, covered in fur, with wide black eyes and metal claws on one hand. Xeruk, you the one who fed the Xanthari baby? Xeruk hissed. Jack blinked. How did you? I know everything, Xeruk said. News spreads fast in the underlayers. I need more milk, Jack said simply. And something to help her mother recover. Xeruk rubbed his chin. Rare, risky, but not impossible. What do you offer? Jack held out the tags. Xeruk took them, sniffed, then licked the silver edge. Genuine earth silver, from the Soul Wars. He grinned, showing sharp teeth. Done, he said. But you must take something else too, Jack frowned. What? Kind of something. Xeruk pointed at a crate nearby. One small favor. deliver this box to the spaceport. That's how this works, human. You help me, I help you. Simple. Jack stared at the crate. He didn't want more trouble. But he needed the milk. Fine, he said. Give me the supplies. Xeric opened a cooler. Inside were 3 sealed tubes of Zenthari milk and a pack of nutrient shots for Sarai. Handle with care, Xeric said. One wrong move and you'll glow blue for days. Back at the long shot, Jack injected Sarai with the nutrient shot. Her body shivered. Then her eyes fluttered open for the first time. Jack froze. She stared at him, confused and weak. She tried to speak, but only a whisper came out. Jack smiled gently. Don't worry. Your baby's safe. She didn't understand the words, but she felt the warmth in his voice. Her hand slowly reached toward the sleeping baby, who stirred and made a tiny squeak. Sarai's eyes filled with tears. Jack stepped back, giving her space. But deep inside, a strange warmth grew in him. He had saved them, at least for now, but time was short. 2 hours later, Jack carried Xeric's crate to Dock 22. The port was busy with workers, bots, and pilots preparing for launch. He moved fast, keeping his head low. As he passed a scanner, the lights turned orange. Suspicious heat signature. Jack's heart dropped. 2 guards stepped forward. Stop right there. One shouted. Jack froze. His eyes darted. He couldn't run, not with this crate. And if they searched him? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed nearby. A forklift bot tipped over, spilling crates across the floor. The guards turned in surprise. Jack moved fast. He slipped around the corner and slid the crate behind the marked column, just like Xeric said. Then he ran, heart pounding, back toward the long shot. Back to Sarai, back to the baby, back to the people who needed him. Asterisk. The launch timer blinked in red. T-minus 45 minutes. Inside the long shot, Jack Carter moved quickly, checking every system. The engines were warmed up. The shields were active. Fuel was tight, but enough to reach Pelion-3. Sarai sat now, weak but awake, holding her baby gently. She couldn't speak much, but her eyes followed Jack's every move. The baby had color in her cheeks again and sucked softly on the second milk feeder tube. A soft hum filled the ship as life support systems adjusted to their body heat. Jack stepped into the cockpit and stared at the port's exit gates on the monitor. They were closed. He needed flight clearance. Ship, he said. Request launch permissions. Request denied, the AI responded. Security lockdown in progress. All non-official vessels are grounded, Jack cursed. The guards must have found Xeric's crate. Maybe the crash at the dock gave him time to escape, but not without raising suspicion. They're looking for me now, he muttered. He had one option left, the smuggler's path, an old maintenance tunnel under Dock 7 that led straight to open space. It hadn't been used in years, and if the security drones caught him mid-exit, he'd be vaporized. Jack looked back at Sarai and the baby. They needed to get out. Now. Hold tight, he said. We're going dark. He shut off all visible signals, switched the ship to manual stealth mode, and lifted slowly off the ground. No lights, no comms. Only shadows. The long shot hovered low as it slid beneath the cargo tower. Jack guided the ship around rusted platforms and silent cranes. Outside, floodlights from patrol drones flashed in the sky. His hands were steady, his breath tight. He reached Dock 7's lower chamber. A warning flashed. Warning. Unauthorized route. Auto defense system active. Jack ignored it. Override with code 99 Delta Carter. He ordered. The ship paused, then replied, Code recognized. Proceed at your own risk. The tunnel was narrow, dark, and shaking with pressure. Rusted steel pipes clanged as the ship moved slowly through. Jack couldn't use the boosters. The heat would show on sensors. The deeper he went, the more Unstable the tunnel felt. A deep groan echoed from the old walls. Sarai flinched and hugged her baby tighter. Jack turned slightly and gave her a small nod. "We'll make it." But then, a sudden jolt. Boom. The ship shook violently. Jack hit the controls. "Status. Structural beam collapsed behind us. Tunnel integrity at 64%, the AI warned. "Speed must be increased or risk collapse." "No choice," Jack growled. He pushed the throttle gently forward. The ship picked up speed, scraping the tunnel sides. Sparks flew. Ahead he saw the final blast gate, sealed shut. He needed it open. "Try emergency unlock." He shouted. "Security encryption detected," the AI replied. Jack slammed his fist down. "Bypass it." The ship hummed louder. Jack's screen filled with red code. The baby started to cry, sensing the tension. Sarai held her tighter. Suddenly, another alarm blared. "Incoming drone signal 200 meters. One of the auto-defense drones had detected movement. A small, deadly machine floated into the tunnel behind them, its weapon systems blinking. Jack gritted his teeth. Time to run. He slammed the full throttle. The ship surged forward, shaking wildly. The drone-fired red lasers zipped past the rear shields, jolting the ship again. Jack dodged left, then right, scraping the wall. Sparks flew. Pipes burst. The blast gate was still locked. "Aye," he yelled, overriding. Another drone entered from behind. Then another. Jack reached into his belt, pulled out the glowing shard Sarai had given him earlier, the one from her SATCHEL. It pulsed faintly. He shoved it into the ship's main power port. A sudden wave of energy surged through the ship. Unknown. "Energy detected, shields overcharged," the AI said. Surprised, the blast gate, still sealed, reacted to the energy pulse. Click. Whir. It opened. "Yes." Jack roared, slamming the booster. The ship shot out into open space as the drones fired again, but their shots hit nothing but air. The tunnel collapsed behind them in a fiery explosion, sealing off the route forever. The long shot tumbled into the cold black of space before stabilizing. Silence. Then. Soft breathing. The baby had stopped crying. Sarai looked at Jack, and for the first time she smiled. Jack leaned back in his chair, panting. "We're out," he whispered. "We made it." A few minutes later, the stars stretched before them. Varnix 4 was shrinking behind them. Jack set the course to PELION-3. As the ship entered jump prep, he walked back to check on Sarai and the baby one last time. Sarai looked tired, but better. The baby was asleep, holding Jack's finger gently. He sat down beside them, resting his back against the wall. He was supposed to be a nobody, just a quiet cargo pilot with a broken past. But now, he was something else, someone's hero. The stars outside the long shot were calm now. After the chaos of the tunnel escape, everything inside the ship felt silent, peaceful. The engines hummed low as the ship drifted in quiet space, heading toward the far system of PELION-3. Jack Carter sat beside Sarai and her child, resting for the first time in what felt like days. His eyes were half closed, but his mind stayed alert. He had to keep checking the baby's breathing, making sure the soft rise and fall of her chest never stopped. Sarai had fallen asleep too, her head tilted slightly, her long blue hair falling across her shoulders, one arm wrapped protectively around her daughter. Her skin had color now, not that pale gray-blue shade from before. The nutrient shot and food packs were working. Slowly, but they were working. Jack didn't understand her language, not a single word. But her expressions, her body, her silence, they said everything. She trusted him now, and somehow, that mattered to him more than he expected. The baby stirred, making a tiny whimper. Jack gently picked up the feeder tube and warmed the milk capsule again. You hungry, little one?" he whispered. She opened her eyes and reached for the feeder, small fingers trembling. Jack carefully placed it near her lips, and she latched on with weak but eager suckles. That sound, it was beautiful. Jack exhaled with relief. "You're a fighter," he said softly, "just like your mom." As the baby drank, Jack leaned against the wall, eyes scanning the monitor. Still no pursuers, no drones, no trackers. Varnix 4 was finally behind them, for now. 2 hours later, Sarai woke fully. She sat up, confused at first, then calm as she saw her baby sleeping next to her. Jack offered her another water pack and a warm protein bar, not sure if she could eat human food. She sniffed it, tasted a piece, and gave a small nod. "Good," Jack said with a smile. "You need your strength." She watched him closely. Then, very slowly, she lifted her hand and placed it gently over her heart. Jack paused. "Is that, thank you?" She nodded once. Jack touched his own chest the same way. She smiled faintly. The first time he saw her smile with full awareness. Then she surprised him. She pointed to herself and said softly, "Sarai." Jack's eyes widened. "Your name?" She nodded again. He pointed to himself. "Jack, Jack," she repeated. Her voice was soft but clear. It felt strange hearing her say his name. Not in a bad way. It made the moment real. Jack looked at the baby. "And her? What's her name?" Sarai hesitated, then touched the baby's forehead. "Lena," she whispered. Jack smiled. "Lena, that's beautiful." Sarai smiled too. A real, full smile. That lit up her face. The next day passed quietly. Jack let the ship stay in low drift mode, using minimal power to avoid detection. Sarai regained more strength with each hour. She could sit, eat, and even stand for short times. Jack spent his time fixing a broken air vent near the cockpit. He didn't want Sarai to feel like a guest anymore. No, this ship was her shelter now. Maybe even her home for a while. That evening, as artificial lights dimmed inside the ship for sleep mode, Sarai did something unexpected. She picked up. Lena walked over to Jack and sat beside him. She pointed to a small bracelet on her wrist. It glowed softly. "Life bond," she said in broken English. "Means ... You saved her, my child." Jack nodded slowly. "Yes, I tried my best." Sarai looked him in the eyes. "No, not try, you did." She reached out and touched his chest, over his heart. "You gave hope." Jack didn't know what to say. Then Sarai unclasped the bracelet and gently placed it in his hand. "For you," she said. Jack held the glowing piece, unsure. "I can't take this. It looks important." Sarai shook her head. "You take, now. You are family." Jack stared at the bracelet. Family. That word echoed in his head like thunder. He hadn't heard it in years. Not since Earth. Not since the war. He had lost everyone, friends, command, even the home he left behind. But here, in the cold silence of space, a woman from another world had just called him family. His throat tightened. He nodded. "Okay, Sarai, I'll protect you. Both of you. Always." That night, the baby slept soundly. Sarai curled beside her, peaceful for the first time since Jack had found them in the alley. Jack stayed in the pilot chair, staring at the stars. He touched the bracelet gently, watching its soft light. In the darkness of space, something new had begun. A strange bond between a human and two aliens formed not by words, but by action. And love. Pelion 3 slowly came into view, a green and golden planet wrapped in soft clouds, glowing like a lantern in the darkness of space. Jack Carter leaned forward in the pilot's seat of the Longshot, eyes locked on the screen. They had made it. Almost, but nothing about this trip had been simple. The colony on Pelion 3 was new and wild. There were no governments, no patrol bots, no rules. Refugees, smugglers, and settlers from across the galaxy lived together in fragile peace. Jack knew it well. He had dropped cargo here before. That's why he chose it. It was the only place where a human with 2 illegal passengers wouldn't be asked questions. Approaching atmosphere, the ship's AI said. Prepare for entry. Jack tightened his seatbelt. Behind him, Sarai sat near the baby, holding her close. Lena had grown stronger over the last few days. Her eyes were bright. She even giggled once when Jack made a silly face. The sound stayed in his mind like music, but Jack wasn't smiling now. He opened a panel under the console and pulled out a small data chip. Inside it was a fake ID, forged travel logs, and new names for all 3 of them. He hoped it would be enough. As the ship entered Pelian's orbit, warning lights flashed. Incoming message: unregistered vessel detected. State your business. Jack clicked the speaker. Name's Carter. I'm a trader from Corva 6. Emergency landing. Engine failure. Silence. Then another message. Permission granted. Dock at Port Zone 3. But don't cause trouble. We're watching. Jack exhaled. Thanks. He turned to Sarai and gave her a thumbs up. We're going in. She tilted her head, trying to understand. Jack smiled and repeated slowly, safe now. Sarai nodded. The longshot landed softly on a wide pad made of rusted steel. Around them, strange buildings stretched toward the sky, made of scrap metal and plastic sheets. A few ships hovered above, and people, alien and human, moved through the dust below. The air smelled like oil, food, and fire. Jack stood by the ramp, unsure. We leave fast, he whispered. Stay close. Sarai wrapped Lena in soft cloth and stepped beside him. The ramp opened. Warm air hit their faces, and the moment they stepped out, 4 tall figures appeared. 2 humans, 2 reptilian aliens, all armed. Jack's hand moved toward his belt, but he didn't draw his weapon. One of the humans stepped forward. Carter? Who's asking? Jack said calmly. The man grinned. Your friend Xerxes says hello. We've been waiting. Jack's eyes narrowed. I did the job. Oh, we know. You delivered the crate. But see, Carter. Xerxes once more. Sarai clutched her baby tighter. Her body tensed. Jack stepped in front of her. I don't owe him anything. Yes, you do, the man said. He gave you milk, medicine, safe passage. Now he wants his payment. I gave him everything I had. The man's grin faded. Then give him them. The words hit Jack like ice. You're out of your mind, he said. The reptilian alien hissed, raising a weapon. Give the Zenthari and the child. That's the price. Jack didn't move. He looked back at Sarai. Her eyes were wide with fear, but she didn't cry out. She didn't run. She just held her baby and waited. Then Jack did something none of them expected. He smiled. You know what happens when you try to take a soldier's family? He asked softly. Before they could answer, he moved. Fast. He grabbed the flash charge from his belt, slammed it into the ground, and turned, shielding Sarai and the baby with his body. Boom! A blast of light and smoke exploded across the landing pad. Screams echoed. Jack pulled Sarai's arm. Run! They sprinted down a narrow alley between cargo stacks. Behind them, gunshots rang out. Jack zigzagged, leading them through the maze. He had mapped this place in his mind years ago. He knew where to go. They reached a storage shelter with no lock. Jack kicked the door open, pushed Sarai and the baby inside, then blocked the door with a metal rod. Sera, I breathed hard, cradling Lena close. Jack checked his weapon. 2 shots left. We can't stay long, he said. They'll be back. Where go? Sarai asked quietly. Jack looked at her, surprised. You speak more now? She nodded. I try for Lena. He smiled for a second, then grew serious again. There's a refugee shuttle leaving at night. No ID needed. It goes deep into the forest regions. I can get you on it. Sarai looked at him for a long time. You come? She asked. Jack hesitated. I'll get you both there. But I have to return after. If I disappear, they'll come hunting. And they might hurt others I know. Sarai didn't argue. She just reached out and pressed her forehead against his. It was her people's way of saying goodbye. But Jack shook his head. Not goodbye, I'll find you. She touched his hand. I believe, she whispered. Night came. Jack led them through the shadows to the shuttle port. He paid the last of his fake credits, and the tired-looking shuttle operator didn't ask questions. Sarai stepped onto the ramp with Lena sleeping in her arms. At the top. She turned back one last time. Jack raised a hand. She raised hers. Then the doors closed. The shuttle lifted off into the night sky. And Jack stood alone again. But this time, not empty. Not broken. Because now, somewhere in the stars, he had something worth living for. The night winds howled across the broken walls of Port Zone 3. Jack Carter stood alone, his coat flapping gently as he watched the last lights of the refugee shuttle vanish into the sky. Sarai and Lena were gone now, safe, hidden in the green forests of Pelion 3. He had done it. He had kept his promise, but the landing pad behind him was no longer quiet. A voice echoed in the shadows. There he is. Jack turned slowly. From the darkness, the same thugs from before appeared. Zirek's men. This time there were more of them. Their weapons weren't hidden anymore. Red targeting lights blinked across their chests. You really think we'd let you go after making us look like fools? One of the men growled. Jack didn't reach for his weapon. He raised his hands. Not looking for a fight, he said calmly. Just a clean end. Oh, you'll get an end, the lead thug said, with a sneer, but not a clean one. Jack's fingers twitched, his old instincts returning. Then a sound broke through the tension. Boom. The explosion came from above. Metal rained down. A tower light burst into flames, and the thugs ducked. From behind a large crate, a figure stepped out. A woman, not Sarai, human, military gear. One glowing eye. Jack Carter, she said over a speaker. You still finding trouble in all the wrong places. Jack blinked. Lieutenant Bren? She smirked. Captain now. Bren's strike team dropped from the rooftops, weapons drawn. In seconds, the thugs were surrounded. The ambush was clean, fast and professional. Bren walked over to Jack. Zirek's boys were getting bold. You gave us the perfect excuse to shut them down. Jack looked at the stunned thugs being hauled away. You followed me? He asked. She shrugged. We monitor illegal energy spikes. That Centauri bracelet you're wearing lights up like a seal. Beacon. Jack looked at the glowing band Sarai had given him. He had forgotten it was still on his wrist. Bren's voice softened. You okay? Jack nodded. Better than I've been in years. Later, inside a quiet cafe near the port, Bren sat across from Jack, sipping from a steel mug. You still have that ship? She asked. Barely, he replied. She's tired, but she flies. Bren set down her mug. You know, Pelion 3 needs new scouts. People who can run silent routes, keep refugees safe, move supplies without questions. Jack raised an eyebrow. That a job offer? Bren nodded. You'd get protection, a clean record, and access to off-grid travel lanes. Jack thought for a moment. On one condition. I'm listening, she said. If I ever need to check in on someone, no reports, no tracking, no questions, you let me go, whenever I want. Bren smiled. A girl? Jack didn't answer. He didn't need to. 2 weeks later, deep in the forest hills of Pelion 3, a quiet village had grown. The houses were simple, made of wood and clay. Small fires burned at night. Laughter filled the air. During the day, children ran barefoot through the grass. And among them was one very small girl with soft blue skin and bright, curious eyes. Lena. She chased bugs and flowers, falling over herself with happy squeals. Every time she laughed, Sarai would look up from the garden with a smile that reached her soul. Their old life, fear, pain, hunger felt like a fading dream. Sarai now had strength. She worked with her hands. She taught the village children songs from her people. She even helped deliver 2 other refugee babies in the last week. But every night, before bed, she would walk to the edge of the woods and look at the sky. She wore no bracelet anymore, but her heart held a silent connection, a bond. Then one day, a small cargo shuttle landed just outside the trees. Lena was the first to run toward it, laughing. The door opened, and a tall man stepped out, smiling at the child. Running toward him, Jack Carter lifted her up gently and spun her round. She giggled. Sarai stood nearby, stunned. "You came back," she said. "I promised I would." Jack replied softly. She walked to him, unsure what to do. But Lena solved it for them. She placed Jack's hand into her mother's hand and nodded proudly. As if she understood. No one spoke. After that, they didn't need to. Jack wasn't just a visitor now. He had finally arrived where he was meant to be. That night, by the fire, Sarai leaned against Jack as Lena slept beside them. The stars above glittered, quiet and calm. "Family," Sarai whispered. Jack nodded. "Yes," he said. "This time it's real."